Oh, Doctor.
Good night.
Good night.
Good news travels fast.
As always.
Whatever happened to growing old gracefully?
Easy for a 30-something to say.
Hayden?
That.
More police?
I'm Tessa Vat, homicide.
Steve Hayden?
The others are this way, and with the...
Sorry, sir, your name, please.
Sorry, Dr. Adam Klein. I'm a partner here with Dr. Magnus. I'm also his anaesthetist.
You found the body, did you, sir?
Lord, no. His daughter, Carol, found him. And then Laurie turned up and barged straight into the operating...
Sorry, his daughter, what was she doing here?
Carol's our nurse manager.
Right, and Laurie, who's she?
She's Dr. Magnus's wife. She saw him. Can you imagine? Who could do something like that? Laurie just went crazy. We had to take her home next door, give her a sedative.
We'll need to speak to Mrs. Magnus and her daughter.
Stepdaughter. Carol's in her father's office. She won't go home. She won't lie down. She's just there.
And Dr. Magnus, where's he?
This way.
Are all the patients on this floor?
No, they're all in their rooms upstairs.
Please keep them in their rooms, Doctor. We'll need to talk to all of them.
Certainly. In there.
Thanks.
Morning. This used to be Dr. Theo Magnus, a cosmetic surgeon. Good one, so we're told.
His throat was cut by something very sharp. His face was also mutilated by something similarly sharp. His nose, lips, cheeks, tip of chin, bags under the eyes, all cut away.
You got a murder weapon?
Well, we're assuming a scalpel for now. Of course, we'll have to check all the instruments, match it up against the clinic's operating theatre inventory just to see that all the scalpels are accounted for.
His throat was cut first, so the facial disfigurement was all done post-mortem, so he wouldn't have felt a thing. Well, I like to hold on to that thought.
Do you know how long he's been dead?
Well, rigor's well advanced, so I'd say you're looking at probably between about 9 and 11 last night.
I'll be very surprised if we don't find the contents of this in the victim's bloodstream. It's probably an anaesthetic or narcotic of some description.
There's enough blood here to have written the entire Bible. It's disgusting.
Does anyone know the quote?
Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I had reams of that stuff drummed into me at Sunday school. I've had a quick look around already. There are 2 floors. Pre-op and recovery, upstairs, as is the patient's room. That's about 3rd full at the moment.
Are we looking for a disgruntled patient, sir?
Well, according to one of the night nurses, Jackie Simpson, none of the patients from upstairs came down to this level last night. The other night nurse backed her up, reckon this was so.
Where does this lead, sir?
Oh, the fire stairs. Dr. Magnus used them as an exit if he was working late. The main doors, they're locked at 8 p.m. after visiting hours.
And can you get in through the fire door?
No,
Any signs of forced entry?
none so far, which would suggest that our murderer came down here and hid somewhere until closing time. Waited.
Or else had a key to the front door.
That's about the size of it. Okay, you talk to family, staff. You keep me posted on this one.
All right. Let's start with the daughter, Carol. She found the body.
My father had admirers, not enemies. Maybe a few colleagues were jealous, but nothing to warrant that.
What about old clients? Anyone who might have been unhappy with the work your father did?
Nothing serious. Although there was a man in yesterday demanding to see my father. He had a procedure done here several months ago.
Do you recall his name?
Porteous. Saul Porteous. He got quite angry when I told him Dad was unavailable. He kept saying something about Dad owing him. For what, I don't know. I can get you his details from records.
Thank you. What time did he come in?
About 4:30, I think.
Where did you last see your father alive, Carol?
Around 6 o'clock last night. I was heading home. He was in here working. He often worked late.
Would he have any reason at all to go into the operating theatre at night?
Not usually, but he'd go past it on his way out.
You were first in this morning?
The night staff was still on duty upstairs, but they hadn't been in the theatre.
What time did you arrive?
7:45. I opened up and went to the theatre to prep for the morning's work. I checked his pulse. Oh, it's just automatically. It was obvious he was dead, so I called the police.
Did you see what was written on the wall?
The Matthew thing, yeah. Do unto others. I looked it up. In my father's Bible.
Just for the record, Carol, where were you last night?
At home. Alone, I'm afraid. I live alone.
Obviously, you have a key to the clinic.
Yes, I often open up in the mornings.
Who else has one?
My father, of course. His wife, Laurie, has a set. And Dr. Klein.
I asked you to keep an eye on Laurie. I don't want her alone in the house.
I'll be there as soon as possible, Doctor. Right now I've got obs to do.
Yes, all right, just keep them upstairs.
Eileen, the police need an inventory done of the surgical equipment. Can you see to it? I'll do the rounds upstairs.
Can't Jackie take care of the inventory?
Eileen can do it. Jackie's officially off duty.
Eileen, ask for Sergeant Lance Fisk.
Jackie, is it?
Sure is.
We just have a couple of questions for you, then you can go home and get some rest.
I really don't know how I can help. I'm happy to give it a go.
Good.
How are you holding up?
What do you care?
So do you usually work the night shift, Jackie?
I work all kinds of hours, whenever they need me. I've been sort of permanent casual for the last 3 months.
And last night, Jackie, did you notice anything unusual?
No. Well, until this morning, of course.
Is there any chance that you might have fallen asleep for a few minutes, missed something?
No chance. That's more than my job's worth. I try to keep busy.
Were you upstairs with the patients the whole time?
Pretty much. I came downstairs once to get an extra pillow from the linen cupboard.
Where's the linen cupboard?
Just around the corner from the operating theatre.
What time was that?
About 10. Is that what time Dr. Magnus was attacked?
Did you hear anything at all, Jackie?
No. But what if I'd gone in there? Or met the killer in the corridor. Oh, my God.
How did you get along with Dr. Magnus?
Oh, he was nice enough. Gentle, polite. Most of the time. He'd been a bit crabby, you know, the last few weeks. Eileen told me only yesterday he bit her head off during a procedure. She was ropeable.
What happened?
She handed Dr. Magnus a scalpel, and he nicked himself. And then he went right off the deep end at Eileen.
And how did she react?
Well, she didn't let on, but I could tell she was peeved. No one questions Eileen, Detective. No one.
All right, Jackie. Well, thanks very much for your time.
Hey, is it true about Dr. Magnus's face?
I'm afraid we can't discuss the case. All right. Thank you.
We finished here, have you, Imogen?
Yes, I'll see you at the morgue.
Look forward to it. Oh, Dave, will you wait at the vehicle for me?
See you later. Fish, have you found anything?
Well, there has been one development, courtesy of Nurse Eileen here. It seems that the scalpel is indeed missing. I'd say your murder weapon is still extant, probably down a deep hole somewhere.
Right, good, thanks. Thanks, Eileen. I'm sorry you had to see all this.
You were off duty last night, Eileen?
Yes, I went into the city, just shopping.
Was there anyone with you?
No. I might still have the bus ticket if you need proof.
So you were on the day shift yesterday?
Yes, on this floor scrubbing in theatre.
Right. And have you got anything unusual to report? Anything at all?
There was a slight incident with Dr. Magnus, but...
Right. What was that about?
Dr. Magnus said I wasn't doing my job properly. He was wrong. I know what I'm doing, detectives. I'm a very good theatre sister.
Did he often reprimand staff for making mistakes, Eileen?
Dr. Magnus set high standards, but as I've always come up to them, I really wouldn't know. Now, if you'll excuse me, I've got work to do.
So, can you tell us about the drugs here, Dr. Klein? Anesthetics, narcotics, where are they stored?
They're locked away in a pharmacy room down the corridor of this floor. Not in a safe, of course, but...
Who had access to this pharmacy room, Doctor?
Almost everyone. Staff, I mean. Carol Magnus is officially responsible for the room.
And you're the anaesthetist here?
And a partner.
But it's your responsibility to keep track of the drugs used in theatre.
Yes. Ultimately, those drugs are my responsibility. Why?
We believe Dr. Magnus was drugged before he was killed.
When did you last see him alive, Dr. Klein?
It was about lunchtime yesterday. I had to leave early with a migraine. They creep up on me sometimes. Dr. Magnus had a locum in for the one op he had on, Mrs. Beasley, I think.
And what about last night?
Have you ever had a migraine? I was at home in a dark room, lying very still, trying not to throw up.
Doctor, did you work with Dr. Magnus yesterday morning?
Yes, an eye job.
Anything unusual happen?
Dr. Magnus cut his finger, nicked it with a scalpel. It's the first time I'd seen that happen.
Detectives, Mrs. Magnus is expecting you.
Thank you.
Jackie said she'd take you over. And Carol asked me to give you this. It's the details on Saul Porteous, the patient who was here yesterday.
Thank you.
Are you finished with me for now?
Yes, thank you very much. Saul Porteous. I'll ring Thorne and have someone check him out.
Both Dr. Klein and Magnus's daughter, Carol, have keys to the front door.
Along with the wife.
We should go and talk to her.
You all right?
I thought you'd gone home.
I'm just taking the detectives over to see Mrs. Magnus.
All right, but don't be long. I want to talk to you.
She's got a broom up her bum, that one.
Oh, I'd imagine she's had a pretty tough day.
No, she's always like that.
Is this the doctor's wife?
Yeah.
I thought she'd be older.
How old do you reckon she is?
Mid-30s?
She wishes.
You ought to see a medical file. It's a fantastic read. She's had everything done. Wrinkles, eyes, lips, nose, chin, cheeks, tits and bum too. Can't say I blame her though. I mean, she's married to one of the best cosmetic surgeons in the country. May as well get your money's worth.
All those procedures, they must be painful.
Mrs. Magnus, these are the detectives.
I'm Tessa Vance.
Detective Hayden?
Please come in. I'll leave you to it. Carol's waiting.
We're very sorry about your husband's death, Mrs. Magnus.
Thank you. I shall miss him so much. I don't think it's quite set in yet.
Well, that's quite normal.
You must see a lot of widows. Does the stress show in their faces? Theo always said you could map a person's life by the lines in their face. All that laughter and the tears. He looked after my face. He was very protective. He was much older than me. So sweet.
When did you last see your husband alive, Mrs. Magnus?
About 5:30 yesterday afternoon. I sometimes work at the clinic in the reception after lunch. I said goodbye when I finished up.
And you weren't worried when he didn't come home last night?
Theo often didn't come home till well after midnight. Well, he was a night owl. So I really didn't miss him until the alarm woke me at 7 this morning.
What did you do then?
I rang his office. He didn't answer. I went straight over.
Your stepdaughter Carol said she didn't call the police until just after 7:45. Is there any reason why you took so long to get to the clinic?
I had to get dressed, Detective. Put on my makeup. My husband was most particular about that.
You can finish the shifts you've been rostered this week.
1 week's notice, after all I've done. Weekends, nights. I know what this is about, and so does the whole damn clinic.
I really don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, yeah? We'll see what Dr. Klein has to say then.
Theo calls these his family albums. He likes to keep a record of my progress. The procedures I've had.
There's quite a few of them.
Do you think so? I suppose they do all add up. Theo always says I'm his best advertisement.
Really?
He was a miracle worker, Detective. I was blessed to have him.
I have to ask you, Mrs. Magnus, do you have a key to your husband's office?
I have a full set of the clinic keys. I always keep them. Well, that's odd.
What's that?
The office key's not here. I can't think why. Oh, unless Theo misplaced his and borrowed mine without telling me.
Are there any others missing? The front door of the clinic, for instance?
No, they all seem to be here. Yep. Do you think you know who did this to Theo?
I wonder, do you remember your husband mentioning a man called Saul Porteous, an ex-patient, had a bit of a grudge against your husband?
The name seems familiar.
Right. Okay, Mrs. Magnus, well, thank you very much for your time.
Yes, thank you.
Hayden? Yeah. Okay, thanks. We're on our way up. Bye. Saul Porteous is waiting for us. You know he's had a facelift.
Something must have gone wrong. He sounds deeply annoyed.
Maybe they trod on his nose before they sewed it back on.
Something that's what happens. I'll put him in the oven on a slow bake.
Okay, we can place this guy at the clinic about 4:30 yesterday. He was thumping the table yelling about Magnus owing him.
Owed him what?
I don't
Hang
know.
on. He was there this morning. I noticed him when we arrived.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be the first time that a killer came back to check out his handiwork.
You know, if he was a patient there, it's possibly knew his way around. He could have found a hiding place until the clinic had closed down last night.
Okay. Basting.
Righto. Is it true you were at the clinic yesterday very upset, demanding to see Dr. Magnus?
He ripped me off.
Are you aware that he was found murdered this morning?
I heard.
Did you threaten him yesterday?
Is that what they said? No, I didn't threaten him. I just wanted to see him.
And this morning outside the clinic, what were you doing there?
It's nothing. I was angry. I'd had a bad night. I just wanted him to understand what he'd done to me.
And what was that? What did you do after you left the clinic?
I went to the pub. I stayed there for a while.
Where were you between the hours of 9 and 11 last night?
Oh, I was at the pub a good couple of hours at least. Got pretty legless. Then I woke up this morning out the front of my sister-in-law's place. My wife's staying there. We're separated.
What time did you get to your sister-in-law's?
I'm not too sure, actually. I mean, after the pub, that night's a bit of a blank.
How far is your sister-in-law's from the clinic?
I don't know. Maybe half an hour or so. Look, I went to that clinic 4 months ago because it promised to change my life. I was afraid of losing my job. You know how it is with these young guys snapping at your heels, and things were pretty bad at home. I spent thousands of dollars on a facelift to turn my life around. But it didn't work. I was made redundant a fortnight ago. And to top it off, my wife left me the next day.
Do you blame Dr. Magnus for that?
Oh, maybe I was stupid or vain. But Magnus, he promised so much.
Are you suggesting he was negligent?
He's a liar. And he needed to understand that.
Oh, you're back.
Is that where the dangerous drugs are kept?
All the drugs are kept in here.
I noticed in your father's desk calendar there was an appointment for yesterday with an Adam at 4 p.m. Do you know who that'd be?
I can only assume it's Dr. Klein. He's the only Adam I know.
Right, good. Okay, I'll check that with him. Where is he?
I think he's upstairs. Some of the patients are understandably distressed. I'll take you up if you like.
There was another thing. I've locked your father's office. I need to know how many copies of the key there are.
The one you have's the only spare. Dad had one and Laurie does too.
Right. And the key to the front door, does that lock the office door as well?
No, it's a different lock altogether. Why do you need to lock my father's office?
We need to go through his things. It won't take long. This way.
Now isn't the time to talk about it, Jackie.
Well, in a week, I'm going to be out of a job. When do you think I should start?
I'll leave you to it, Detective.
We'll talk later. Everyone's a little tense, as you can imagine.
Yeah. There was a note on Dr. Magnus's desk calendar for yesterday, Adam, 4 p.m. Is that referring to a meeting with you?
I told you I was at home with a migraine yesterday afternoon.
Right, it's just that you're the only Adam that anyone round here seems to know. If it's not you, do you know who it might be?
No. Dr. Magnus could see me at work any day of the week.
Except for yesterday.
Am I under suspicion? Should I be calling a solicitor?
Jackie, have you got a minute? It's jealousy, you know. Makes her extra ugly.
Carol?
Oh, who else?
Well, who's she jealous of?
She's been holding a candle for Adam. Dr. Klein. Has for ages, they reckon.
Are they lovers?
In her dreams. Look, they were friends, that's all. But she's been a real cow to both of us ever since...
Since you and Dr. Klein have been together?
Is it that obvious?
Has Carol confronted you about it?
Oh, she's too stuck up to do anything like that. I mean, I think it's sad, really. She's known Adam for yonks, but she doesn't have a clue what he likes. He wants the chemistry, the body, the looks.
And that's enough?
Look, I don't have any delusions about myself. This is not a meeting of minds. Carol should take a good long look at herself. She's seen the wonders this place can do. You'd think she would have taken advantage of it by now, wouldn't you?
I get the feeling that there's something the client's not telling us.
Howdy. Hello. Mr. Fisk, what have you got for us?
Well, the room was very clean, which is comforting given that it was an operating theatre. There was no dust, no fibres, and all the blood belonged to the victim.
What about the idea he was drugged?
I've sent blood and urine samples off for analysis. Until they come back, there's nothing I can give you.
I did find a pair of latex gloves in the autoclave in the operating theatre, but it had been turned on, so they were forensically pretty useless.
Oh.
Have you found something?
Perhaps.
What's his brain got to do with a cut throat, Tootsie?
Maybe nothing. A little more cutting, a few more tests before I can say for sure.
Jackie, what are you doing here?
Oh, I'm back again for the evening shift. Carol gave me a week's
How did
notice.
you get into the office?
I didn't.
Who did?
Move aside, Dr. Klein.
It's just some rubbish I was It's nothing. Theo's diary, it's personal. He wouldn't want anyone to see.
How did you get into the office, Dr. Klein?
I took Laurie's key from her bag this morning. In all the confusion, I know it looks bad. I was just doing what Dr. Magnus would have wanted. That book was Theo's personal diary. I knew he kept it religiously. He wrote in it every night. Thoughts about his work, patients, his colleagues, everything. I knew there'd be some stuff that would be embarrassing to his memory and to his family.
You were obviously on his minds. Quite a lot of references to you. Mention of Jackie, too, a terse one.
Strumpet. Now there's a word you don't see every day.
It's my personal life. I don't see what it has to do with all this.
What did Dr. Magnus say about the affair?
Nothing.
The initials DD, what do they refer to?
DD. Dangerous drugs.
Klein, very sheepish when I... something... Obviously still under the influence. Do you drink to excess, Dr. Klein?
No.
Klein does not deny DD cupboard discrepancies. That's where the dangerous drugs are stored.
Can you explain those lines for us, Doctor?
I have a bit of a drug problem. Fentanyl, it's a drug we use in anesthetics.
Did Dr. Magnus know about this, sir?
Well, he was pretty upset when I finally told him a few days ago. That's why I left early yesterday. I had a shot. He wouldn't let me near a patient.
So there was no migraine.
And what did Dr. Magnus say about your drug problem? If he'd reported you, it would have been the end of your career, wouldn't it?
Well, that wasn't going to happen. He wanted me to quit, have nothing more to do with the clinic.
We've just had some test results back, Doctor. Dr. Magnus was subdued with a drug before he was murdered. The drug was called fentanyl.
No, I didn't do it. I couldn't. Look, I just thought that since he was dead, I could hush up my own problems, that's all. He wouldn't drop me in it. Theo knew how Carol felt.
Carol knew about the drug problem?
She's like a sister. I'm very fond of her. lean on her a lot when I need to. She's just trying to help.
Have we got enough to charge you?
No. There's too many gaps. Why did he wait to destroy the diary? He just could have taken it with him last night after he'd killed Magnus.
The drug match is damning. He's got opportunity, motive.
They've all got that. The doctor's will was faxed through. Both the wife and daughter benefit. Daughter gets control of the clinic.
And with the father dead, she's protected the man she loves, Dr. Klein.
I'm going to let him go for now. We get a postcard from South America, it'll tell us something.
What do you think?
I think we're tired. Bizarre scenarios are sounding plausible.
Come on, let's go home.
The diary?
Yes, well, more like a burnt offering, really.
Anything interesting?
Or fragmented ideas, thoughts, notes, that sort of thing. Well, it's Dr. Magnus's memoirs, really.
Looking back at somebody's life through the pages of a book can be enlightening. In fact, if it's your own life, downright therapeutic.
Well, I wouldn't know. I've never kept one. I gather you have?
For years.
What, jotted down all your little peccadillos, did you?
Well, as I said, therapy.
Ah, yes, of course, Malcolm.
Well, it is better than debriefing your liver down at the pub all the time.
Yeah, well, yes, I suppose. I suppose that outpouring of emotion on the page could be helpful for some people.
Well, it was until some smart-ass defence lawyer subpoenaed it into the court as evidence.
What?
Now, I ended up in the box having to explain whether my constant references to bumper bar overriders was in fact some sort of code.
And they were...
Spare parts from a Morgan.
Of course.
Well, I'll leave you to it. Maybe Dr. Magnus wrote down the killer's name somewhere in his emotional outpouring. As I said, I'll leave you to it.
Malcolm?
Yeah.
The diary. Did it affect the outcome of the trial?
Yeah. We got the defendant on 16 counts of trading in illegal motor parts. Nailed him to the wall.
Well done.
How'd you go with the burnt section of the diary?
Well, you see, a lot of it's dust. Just dust and ashes, I'm afraid. However, there are a few tantalising scraps left.
Anything from the day of the murder?
It was badly charred, but still legible. Under UV light, the ink stands out white on grey. That's the day in question.
Saw Adam, as I suspected.
Well, that could be Klein's confession over the drugs.
Yeah, Klein still denies being there that afternoon.
But look. Adam is a very common name. It regularly appears on the 10 most popular names. Lance has never made an appearance to my knowledge.
As I write, the circle is closing.
A trap, maybe?
Excuse me.
Look at this. A poor air makes the farewell hard. What's that?
Maybe he was thinking about retirement.
Well, Carol had inherited his share of the clinic. Could be referring to her.
Or Klein. He could be the poor heir given the drug addiction.
But why would he be thinking about retiring?
I don't know.
The circle is closing. Maybe he didn't have a choice.
It was Imogen. Being very mysterious, she has something she wished to show you both.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Fisk.
You're welcome.
That's the left side of the substantia nigra. It's in the midbrain. It's distinctly greyish when it should be black.
And I thought grey matter was simply grey matter.
Yes, but this bit should be black. It's one of the classic signs, but I just wanted to be sure.
Signs of what?
Parkinson's disease. It's in its early stages, but a plastic surgeon with a scalpel or a surgical laser and a shaky hand.
So the good doctor's career was just about to end. But did he know it?
I bet he did.
I've just been in touch with the wife of Saul Porteous. She is staying at her sister's, just like he said.
Did they see him last night?
Oh, yes, he staggered out onto the front lawn about 8:30, dead drunk, did a lot of yelling, bit of crying, climbed into his car, threw up and passed out.
And stayed there?
They threw a blanket over him about 10. An old one, she said.
That name on the desk calendar, that was Adams, not Adam. What was that? Dr. Adams, neurologist.
So you're saying that was the 4 o'clock appointment on the day of the murder?
Well, I'm saying it could be.
All right. Where does that take us?
Well, the clinic rests on Dr. Magnus's reputation. He knows he has to retire, and he's not going to leave it to Dr. Klein.
He was going to shut it down.
The circle's closing, he said.
Someone knew about his plans, now he's dead.
Hi.
Hi. Is Dr. Klein in yet?
Yeah, he's in the operating theatre checking some equipment.
And Carol, where's she?
She was upstairs changing Mrs. Bisley's dressings with Eileen a few minutes ago. Room 111.
I'll talk to Klein.
Good.
Okay. Thanks.
Carol, did you know your father had Parkinson's disease?
I beg your pardon?
We've just found out from the autopsy, and I've been speaking to a neurologist that he was consulting, a Dr. Adams.
Well, that certainly explains a lot. The work he turned down. His career would have been finished.
He never talked about the future with you? You had no idea?
I'll be downstairs. I'm late with the meditation
we
round.
could meet
As my father didn't share his important news with me, I'm not much use, am I?
She's doing so well. I know what it's like to leave someone on bad terms and never have the opportunity to put it right.
Well, that's enough, Mrs. Bisley. Have to get you ready to go home.
Bad terms? What are you talking about?
What didn't they tell you? Carol and her father, that terrible afternoon, they went at it hammer and tongs, right next to me on that trolley thing.
Mrs. Bisley, I have to get you packed up. Your taxi's on its way.
Hello? Were you there too, or do I rely on Mrs. Bisley's version?
It was a family tiff. I didn't mention it before. Carol's got enough to deal with.
What was the tiff about? Was it to do with Dr. Klein?
In a way. Carol wanted her face done. Eyes, lips, everything.
Well, she's very attractive. Why would she want surgery?
She said it was her last chance.
And Dr. Magnus wouldn't do it?
That's right. He said Klein wasn't worth it. If you'll excuse me.
His career would have been finished.
Carol's seen the wonders this place can do. You'd think she would have taken advantage of it by now.
Dr. Magnus cut his finger with a scalpel. It's the first time I'd seen that happen.
He was a miracle worker detective. I was blessed to have him. Time we talked, stepmother.
Laurie, open the door!
Dr. Magnus having Parkinson's explains everything.
What's everything?
Well, he was rejecting clients left, right and centre. We'd argued about it.
Did Carol come past you?
Yeah, just a moment ago. Tess, what's up?
He didn't tell them. I think that's why he died.
Geez, what did you say to Carol? She just came past me like a chainsaw falling out of a tree.
Going where?
My guess is Laurie's place.
But I ran the place with him. He was turning clients away because of it, and he never told me. Why?
Because you were so wrapped up in that silly anaesthetist. That upset Theo.
That was none of his business.
He could be so sanctimonious. He said I'd had enough operations already.
And he was right, Laurie. There are limits.
No.
Face it. Enough is enough. It's time you realised you're not a young woman anymore.
You were always jealous of me. It was you.
Laurie!
one's taking sides. Now give me the scalpel. Let it go. Okay. Now we're going to find someone who can give you some help, right?
There isn't anyone else. He was the only one. He was the best. He looked after me.
Come on.
Then he said he wouldn't.
Okay. All right. Come on. Let's go. Come on.
He said we'd grow old together.
All right. It's all right. It's okay. Come on.
Laurie was addicted to youth. Her husband refused to operate on her.
And the magic ran out. No more fix.
She had the keys, so access wasn't a problem, and she knew the drugs better than anyone.
Her obsession took over.
She did unto him.
As she wanted him to do unto her. It'll be interesting to see what a jury makes of all of this.
Laurie Magnus won't be in court long. She's going to have the psychiatrists run into their textbooks for years to come.
Fisk, we're not talking about rendering and setting plaster, we're talking about stopping the clock.
No, we're not. We're talking about illusion.
Oh, right.
If I had my choice, I'd stop at age 5. Still exciting, don't you reckon? When you got your swings, just starting out at school. Even porridge tastes fantastic.
Yes, and wouldn't your parents love to have a finger-painting 5-year-old for the rest of their lives?
Yeah. They're much happier now I'm photographing dead bodies.
So Imogen, tell me, you ever had a moment's pang wishing you could stop the clock?
Well, there was one moment. A weekend. 1989, I believe.
Yeah. Go on. Tell us.
Oh, no, a lady never tells, Dave.
What about Steve?
I'd stay exactly where I am. And why not? I'm happy, I'm employed. Fisk's shot.
Oh, yes, please.
Good Lord, is that the time?
That'd be right. No.